Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Ino, Hinata and Nemu. Part 1. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. After Hinata's crippling match against Neji, Naruto became worried about Hinata's condition and went to visit her. Yet, when he went to the receptionist to ask where Hinata's room is, the receptionist refused to answer Naruto's inquiries and threatened to kick him out for disturbing the peace. Knowing that arguing with the receptionist is a waste of time, Naruto went outside, then proceeded to locate Hinata's room through peeking into each window. After about 3 minutes of searching, he looked in a window on the second floor and found Hinata in a hospital bed, hooked up to an array of medical equipment. As he attempts to gain Hinata's attention, a hand grabbed Naruto and dragged him into Hinata's room. Naruto looked around to find out who pulled him in, and he froze on the familiar figure of Kurenai, Hinata's sensei. As she stared down at him with her crimson orbs, she growled out. "What are you doing here, Uzumaki, and why were you trying to sneak in the window?" Naruto stood up and stared at Kurenai. "I tried going up to the front desk, but the nurse wouldn't tell me what room Hinata-chan was in. I wanted to make sure she was okay after what Neji team did to her. She was one of the only people in the academy who cared about me. Like she said, I never go back on my word because that's mine and her Nindo." Naruto replied. Kurenai smirked. "I'll give you 5 minutes, then you have to leave because visiting hours are over for the morning." As she heads to the door, she stops and looks over her shoulder. "She cares about you. If you break her heart, I promise I'll break a part of you that will make you lose all interest in girls, understood? She's the closest thing I have to a daughter." After Kurenai left, Naruto unclenched his legs, let out a big sigh. "I've got to remember never to upset her." He walked to the bed, took the chart and looked at it, but can't make heads or tails of it. Maybe setting up paint bombs in the Uchiha compound while Iruka-sensei was teaching us about medical terms wasn't a good idea. Putting the chart back on the hook, the only sound in the room is the continuous beeping of the machines hooked up to Hinata. He moved a chair next to the bed and paused a moment when he noticed Hinata had an ample chest, but then he'd never seen her without that big coat. He quickly pushed those thoughts aside, sat down and took her hand. "Hinata-chan, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'm going to train really hard this month, and I hope you can be there to see it. I'm going to show Neji that fate isn't predetermined. Once the exams are over, I'd like to get to know you better. We could go out to lunch. I'm not sure what you like to eat, but we can always go for ramen, and if things work out the way they should, we can do some missions or training together." As Naruto stands up, his gaze falls upon Hinata one last time before he jumps through the window, promising to beat Neji for her. A few seconds after Naruto jumped out the window, a smirking Kurenai walks out of the shadows. "Are you going to pretend to be asleep all morning?" Hinata gradually opened her eyes as her face goes bright red in embarrassment, then began poking her index fingers together. A block away. Meanwhile, Naruto is walking down the street. "Okay, the first thing I need to do is find Kakashi-sensei to help me start my training. I hope he'll teach me a lot of new jutsu," he thinks. As Naruto continues walking, he notices Kakashi coming towards him. "Okay Kakashi-sensei, when are we going to start my training?" As Naruto rants on about all the super cool jutsu he wants to learn, Kakashi quickly tires and shouts. "Naruto, shut up and listen to me. I will not be teaching you. I'm going to be training Sasuke for the finals." Naruto looks at his sensei in shock. "But what about me? I'm going to need training if I'm going to keep my promise to Hinata." Kakashi lets out a breath. "Naruto, you need to listen to me very carefully. The truth is you have no skills as a ninja, you were the dead last in the academy. You had some of the worst grades I've ever seen, you only graduated on a technicality. Ever since you became a ninja, you've relied on pure dumb luck, you rush into battle without thinking, and all you've ever done in a fight is throw shadow clones at the enemy. You yell and scream when you go into battle about how the enemy can't beat you. The only reason I put you in the exams in the first place was to help Sasuke. Once he gets promoted, I'll be taking him as an apprentice, and I'm going to have you sent back to the academy if not dropped from the program completely. You have a 0% chance at beating Neji. Even if I spent the entire month training you, it would be a waste of my time. I have tried to teach you in the past, but you don't pay attention to what I'm saying." As Kakashi continues to rant about how bad of a ninja Naruto is, he's looking down with tears streaming down his face as he listens to the words of his sensei. Having enough of Kakashi's verbal beatdown, Naruto looks at him with fury in his eyes and shouts out. "Shut the hell up. You're supposed to be my teacher, but you haven't taught me anything besides how to climb trees. Now you are just standing here being a hypocrite. I remember the words you said the first day we became a team. You said in the ninja world, those who break the rules are trash, but those that abandon comrades are worse than trash, and now you stand here and you're abandoning me to go train Sasuke. If that's not being a hypocrite, tell me what is." Before Naruto can continue his rant, Kakashi slams his fist into his stomach. Naruto grunts as Kakashi brings him up to his eye level. Now you listen to me, you filthy fox demon, I will not stand here and get lectured by you. Kakashi then throws Naruto to the ground, but before he can retort, Kakashi is slammed against the wall. Looking up to see not only Asuma, but Guy, Anko, Ibiki and Hade, with Anko holding him against the wall. Ibiki steps forward. You have a lot of nerve to treat your student like that. Kakashi shouts out. Don't get involved. It's between me and my student and you have no jurisdiction here. As Anko releases him from the wall, Kakashi looks to see all the Jonin forming a wall between him and Naruto. He spits out a wad of blood and says. Whatever, you can have the damn brat. I have better things to do. Then he disappears in a swirl of leaves, all the Jonin turn to look at Naruto, only to see he's gone. Damn that Kakashi, if I see him treat the kid like that again, he's going to find out how many snakes I can summon. Anko said. I completely agree with you, that kid's got a lot of potential. Ibiki commented. I couldn't agree with you more, his flames of youth burn very bright. Guy added. We should tell my old man about this. A minute later. Needing to let off some steam, Naruto runs several blocks away. As he rounds a corner, he crashes into Sakura, which causes them to both fall with a grunt, followed by the sound of breaking glass. Sakura begins to sit up and sees the new glass figurine that she bought shattered on the ground, her face scrunches up into a look of pure rage. Jumping to her feet and looking down at Naruto, she starts to yell at him. God damn it Naruto, don't you ever pay attention to what you're doing? Do you know how much money that glass figurine cost me? I have been spending months looking for it, not to mention it was a limited run. You better be able to pay for that, but you wouldn't care about that, would you? All you ever do is goof off and mess around. I bet you are running away from one of your stupid pranks. When are you ever going to grow up and stop being such a baka? As Naruto gets up to his feet, he began to try to apologize. I'm sorry Sakura. I don't want to hear your excuses, just give me the money, it cost 5,000 ryo. Sakura interrupted. Naruto looked at her wide-eyed. I'm sorry, I don't have that kind of money right now. Of course you don't, you probably spent it on ramen. Whatever, I don't care, just get out of my way, all you've ever done is be a pain in my neck. Why don't you get out of this village, nobody even likes you, Naruto, you are just a clanless orphan whose parents probably threw in a dumpster because they could tell how much of a moron you were going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if they were out laughing right now, happy that they didn't have to raise a baka like you. I bet you were trying to find Kakashi sensei, well that's too bad because he already said he's training Sasuke for the month. It's not like he was going to help you anyway, the very thought is laughable. You can't do anything right. Sakura ranted. Naruto couldn't believe Sakura was saying all these things to him, she knew his parents were a sore spot for him. Naruto looked her in the eye. I want you to apologize right now for what you said about my parents. Sakura burst out laughing, and between laughs she managed to say. The day I apologize to you is the day you become Hokage. You're not leaving until you apologize. Naruto said strongly. Sakura throws a punch at Naruto's face, but before it could make contact, she's tackled by a large black dog with an eye patch. As the dog has her pinned to the ground with its teeth inches from her face, Tsume and Yazuka walks up to the two of them. You have a lot of nerve, you little brat. Let her go Kuromaru, you don't know where she's been. After intentionally drooling on her face he walks back to his mistress and speaks to her in canine, she chuckles. Kuromaru says that you need to lay off the shampoo. You also need to get out of my sight before I kick your skinny ass across Konoha. As for the glass figurine you said you bought for 5,000 ryo, I know for a fact it's only 250 because I bought one the other day for my niece. The fact that you were trying to con him out of that much cash shows you are a disgrace to all Leaf Kunoichi. Sakura scrambles to her feet and runs away, Tsume puts a hand on Naruto's shoulder. You okay, pup? I'll be okay, I'm not having a very good day. Naruto answered before telling the story of what happened with Kakashi, having known the Inyazuka matriarch since he was a small child. When he gets done telling her what happened, she profanity even he's never heard growing up on his street. If I see his sorry ass I'm going to neuter him and give what's left to the new training dogs as a chew toy. Naruto bursts out laughing, but manages to say. If you do, let me sell tickets. Tsume begins to laugh with him. Just make sure you split the winnings with me, got it? So what are you going to do for training for the month? I would offer to help you, but I gotta train Kiba. Humming down from his laughing fit, Naruto finally answers. Don't worry about it, I'll be fine. Well if you need any help, come look me up, you got it. She reaches out to ruffle his hair. Just make sure you look out for yourself and make sure you eat something besides ramen, you're going to need the energy for training. Naruto looked up at her with waterfall tears. Why is everybody always picking on ramen? Tsume burst out laughing again. After saying their goodbyes, Naruto heads up a street, deep in thought of what he's going to do for training. He looks to the left and smiles, especially because he sees Ino reading a magazine at the counter. Yamanaka flower shop. When she hears the bell ring over the door, she looks up and to greet the new customer. "Welcome to the Yamanaka flower shop, how can I help you?" "Oh Naruto, what are you doing here?" she asked before getting a big smirk on her face. "Are you here to buy flowers for Sakura?" She instantly sees his sad frown and comes around the corner, putting her hand on his shoulder and speaking in a very soft voice. "Naruto, tell me what happened." Naruto told her what transpired with Sakura earlier and became furious. "Naruto, don't listen to her, she doesn't know what she's talking about and I'm sure your parents would be very proud of you." Naruto hugs Ino and thanks her for kind words as Ino replies that it is of no problem. They separated and she spoke again. "Now seriously, what are you doing in a flower shop? Do you know what type of flowers Hinata might like?" Naruto asked. Ino broke out into a big grin. "Are you telling me you finally noticed the crush she's had on you since we were in the academy?" Laughing and scratching the back of his head, Naruto responded. "I wouldn't go that far yet, but I plan to ask her out to get something to eat after the exams." "Well, it's about time you two got together. As for the flowers, what you want to get is moon flowers, she usually buys a couple every month." Ino finally answered. "Thanks so much, can I get an order sent to her at the hospital?" Naruto asked. "Not a problem, come up to the counter." Naruto followed Ino to the counter, the platinum blonde pushing the buttons on the register. "Okay, one order of moon flowers, do you want to send a card with it?" Naruto grins. "Yes please." Ino puts on a warm smile. "Okay, don't worry about the card, I will help you write it out." "Thanks Ino, so how much do I owe you?" Naruto asked. Ino looks at the register. It comes to 49 Ryo. Naruto pulls out his frog wallet, getting a slight giggle from her, and hands her the money. "Okay, the flowers will be delivered this afternoon." "Thanks Ino, I gotta go get ready to train." Naruto thanks her again and waved as he left. Once Naruto leaves the store, Ino's mother walks in from the back. "It's about time he got over that Haruno girl." "I completely agree with you mom, do you mind watching the store so I can run this order to the hospital?" Ino asked. The big smile on her face, Inoiki nodded. "It's okay, you can take the rest of the afternoon off. I have a feeling you're going to go to look for Sakura." Ino scowled darkly and nods her head. "Before you head out I have a question, an order of moon flowers with a card is 44 Ryo, why did you charge him 49 Ryo?" "Because I plan on getting an order of cinnamon buns, they are her favorite snack and it might help them get together faster." Ino answered. Putting on a big smile, Inoiki shook her head jokingly. "I swear, I never should have taught you how to play matchmaker." Turning around and laughing, Ino heads out before looking back at her mom. "But it's so much fun and you know as much as me how cute of a couple they are going to make. And who knows? Maybe for helping them get together, they will let me be Auntie Ino." 16 minutes later. After leaving the bakery carrying a small box of cinnamon buns, Ino made her way to the hospital and walked up to the front desk. "Excuse me, can you tell me what room Hinata Hyuga is in? I have a delivery for her." "Certainly." The nurse looks at the chart for a second. "She's on the second floor, room 206. Ino smiled, thanked her, took the elevator to the second floor and walked down the corridor until she came to room 206. She knocked on the door and a few seconds later it was opened by Kurenai. "Sorry to disturb you, but is Hinata awake? I have a delivery for her." Kurenai looked behind her. "Are you up for visitors?" Ino heard Hinata say yes before she was let in, seeing Hinata sitting up in her bed. She put the flowers and cinnamon buns on the nightstand, pulled up a chair and sat next to the bed. "How are you feeling Hinata?" she asked. "I'm doing okay, the doctor said I can go home in a few days, but I won't be able to train for a month." Hinata answered. "Sorry to hear that," Ino said before reaching over to the flowers and taking out the card to hand to her. "Thank you for the flowers Ino," Hinata said. "Oh those flowers aren't from me, they're from Naruto," Ino said, smirking at Hinata's crimson face. "Yeah, I was quite shocked when he came into the store and even more when he said he was there to buy flowers for you. Now, can you tell me everything that happened?" Hinata began to explain how Naruto came to visit her, but she was too embarrassed and pretended to sleeping, Ino letting out a loud squeal. "Hinata, that is so romantic, you should know that Naruto told me that he is going to ask you out to eat after the exams." By now, Hinata's face was neon red, Ino and Kurenai both had big smiles on their faces. "The first chance we get, you, me, and Kurenai-sensei are going to have a girls' day out so that we can get you an outfit that'll knock Naruto right out of his sandals. By the time we're done, he won't recognize you." Finally getting over her embarrassment, Hinata had tears of happiness rolling down her face. "Thank you so much Ino." Kurenai was standing off to the side with a smile on her face, happy to see her student like this. Excuse me, Ino, but would you mind explaining something to me? Why did you not include Sakura in the girls' day out? Ino's face immediately fell into a scowl. I want nothing more to do with that bitch. Ino, is this about your fight from the preliminaries? Kurenai asked. No, this has nothing to do with that. Ino said before letting out a breath and told them what Naruto told her. With shocked expressions on their faces, Hinata's heart monitor starts to pick up in pitch, and nurse rushed in to see if everything was okay. Yes. Ino and Kurenai answered before Ino continued. She just learned something that made her mad. Very well, but please refrain from doing it again, she can't afford too much strain on her heart. The nurse advised, receiving nods from all three women before she left, closing the door. Sorry Hinata, I didn't mean to upset you. Ino apologized. It's okay, you have nothing to apologize for Ino. Hinata responded kindly, having settled down. Okay, enough of this, let's get back to planning our day out. Cheered the platinum blonde. 10:41 a.m., business district. A couple blocks away Naruto felt a cold shiver run down his spine. I have a feeling something big is going to happen soon. He muttered to himself. The first thing I need to do is get new equipment to train with, and there's only one store in the whole village that'll have it. He made his way across the village and walked up to one of the stores that always treat him well, and looked up at the familiar sign, the silver star. Opening the door and walking in, he saw Akari, the wife of the owner, asleep with her head on the counter. Putting on the famous Uzumaki grin that sent ninjas running ever since he was a kid, he thought to himself that it had been a while since he pulled a prank while tiptoeing to the counter, before he took in a giant breath. Naruto, if you even think about shouting, I'm going to use you as a training dummy. She said. Aw man, how do you always know when I'm going to do something? Naruto whined. I'm a mother, which means I have a sixth sense for children who misbehave. Akari answered as she stood up and stretched her back, chuckling at Naruto's pout and crossed arms. Okay Naruto, now that we got that out of the way, how can I help you today? I'm in the finals so I'm going to need enough equipment to train for the month, including some new clothes. I love orange, but I think it's time for a change. Naruto said. Yes, finally. It's about time you got rid of that jumpsuit. I've been telling you for years that if you wear that much orange, it's like a giant bullseye. In response to her comment, Naruto blew a raspberry, but before he could even blink, Akari's hand flew out and grabbed his tongue, causing him to flail his arms about and plead to Akari to let go. If I let go, will you behave? Naruto nodded his head and she let go while laughing a bit. Let's see about getting you some new equipment and clothes to make sure you look good. I'm picking all your new clothes, and I'm not taking no for an answer. Okay, I trust you. Naruto answered with a nod. Good, now take off your jacket so I can get a look at you. Akari said before Naruto did what was asked. She began to walk around him and looked him up and down for about 3 minutes before finally nodding. I got an idea. Okay, go sit down in the chair while I get the clothes. Walking over to the chair and sitting down, Naruto began to think about what he is going to do for training, that is until he remembered when he was back in the land of waves and those small structures he found in the woods on the way to the bridge, which he never got a chance to go back to. I guess I can always go back and see what's in it. Who knows, it might have something that I can use to win the fight with Neji. If I win, there will still be the other competitors. He thought then he remembered everything Kakashi said about him earlier, about how he's always acting like an idiot, running into battle without thinking. I think it's about time I start changing the way I do things. If I'm going to change the way I look, I should change the way I act. He was so deep in thought, he didn't notice Akari yelling his name until she reached out and knocked on his head, snapping him out of his deep thoughts. He looked at the clock and saw it had been over half an hour before looking back to Akari and saw a massive pile of clothes, causing him to sweat and look between the door and the clothes. Don't even think about trying to run, Naruto. I'm going to get you out of that orange jumpsuit one way or another. Akari reminded him. Accepting defeat, Naruto nodded his head. Akari walked over to the front door, flipped the sign to closed and locked it. I want you to take those clothes into the changing room and try them on, and I want you to come out and show me so I can help decide. Naruto picked up the clothing, and to the amusement of Akari, he had to model the various outfits. She sometimes went to get even more clothes. Before Naruto finally stepped out of the changing room, wearing black ninja-style pants, gray combat boots and an armored mesh shirt like Hanko's under a black leather trench coat with fingerless shinobi gloves, meaning they had metal plates on the backs, his headband now acting as a belt buckle. Well, how do I look, Akari? Naruto asked. Akari looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Naruto, I can say for certain that you are definitely going to start turning the heads of all the girls in the village, but you need a haircut. As he was standing in front of the mirror, looking at his new outfit, Naruto spoke. I will admit it's a new style for me, but it's missing something, give me a moment. He walked off into the store and he returned a few moments later wearing visor-style sunglasses with a red line running through it. Nice addition. Akari commented. I completely agree that it completes the outfit. Okay, now that we got you a new outfit, let's get you some custom weapons. It took 30 minutes of wandering through the store to find the things he wanted. Okay, Akari, this is gonna be enough for a while. Naruto said. No wait, hold on. Akari went into the back of the store and came back with a small box. Naruto, I was going to give this to you for your next birthday, but now's as good a time as any. She put the box on the counter and opened it for him, showing Naruto 6 more scrolls. What are these? Naruto asked, confused and curious. These are the collective knowledge I gained when I was a kunoichi. Akari answered with a smile. I'm sorry but I can't take these, what about your daughter? Don't you want to pass on the knowledge to her? Naruto tried to refuse. Akari burst out laughing in response. Naruto, you know as well as I do she wants nothing to do with being a kunoichi and she is quite happy running her store. I still remember when you used to have a crush on her. Hearing her remind him of that time made Naruto's face go red. Very funny Akari. I was 5 years old and she was one of the first people that were nice to me. I still remember how you used to follow her around. You know, she's still single. Akari brought up with a grin. Naruto's face got even redder. Okay, can you stop teasing me now, please? He begged. Okay, I'll stop. Now, in the scrolls are a couple techniques I was able to acquire in my short career with my fighting style as well. I know it's a more feminine style, so maybe one day you can give it to your daughter or my granddaughter if my daughter ever decides to finally find herself a boyfriend. Akari said. Naruto smiled. Good luck with that. As much of a tomboy she is, all the boys are too scared of her now because she'll beat them senseless. Not to mention they're jerks and just want to live off her grocery store so they won't have to work. Akari nodded in agreement and put all the scrolls back in the box. So how much do I owe you, Akari? Nothing at all Naruto, this trip is on the house, just make sure you tell everybody where you got the clothes and equipment, that way I can get more business. Akari responded. Naruto jumped over the counter to hug her. Thank you so much, you have no idea how much this means to me. Okay, enough of the mushy stuff, let me take care of your haircut, then you can go start training. Akari responded, letting go of the hug. What style are you going to give me? Naruto asked. I'll just trim it down. Akari answered, leading him to the chair, sitting him down. Have you made any progress on the book you've been writing? Yeah, I finished a chapter last week. Glad to hear, make sure when you finish it to let me have a copy of it. Already planned on it, you're the one who told me to start writing after all. You said it would help me calm down. And I was right, wasn't I? Akari asked. Yes, you were. I'm not a big fan of reading, but it's fun. Naruto replied. Akari finished the haircut and stood back. See, I took off a few inches and trimmed it down. I like it. Naruto stood up and put the box in a storage seal on the inside of the new trench coat. I'm not going to be around Konoha for training, I'm going to the land of waves for it. Akari nodded. You take care of yourself now. I will, I promise you. Naruto said, and noticing the wall clock on his way out said it was about noon, and smiling big left her shop and headed for Ichiraku's to get lunch. 1:38 p.m., Hokage Tower. Heading up the stairs, he approached the secretary and when she looked up, she let out a loud scream. The door to the Hokage's office swung up, revealing the urgent third Hokage. Aimi, are you okay? Why did you scream? Aimi raised her hand to point at Naruto, still a bit shaken. Hiruzen Tsurutobi, the third Hokage and god of shinobi, looked at Naruto in disbelief. Naruto, is that you? Absolutely, like my new outfit. Naruto answered with a grin. Hiruzen nodded his head. I must say, it is definitely an improvement over that orange jumpsuit. I know, right? Akari helped me pick it out. She also gave me a new haircut. Naruto pointed out. I see. Well, come into my office so we can talk, I was just about to send someone to find you. Aimi, what do you think of Naruto? Hiruzen asked. You look very handsome, Naruto. Aimi said, causing his cheeks to redden slightly. Thank you very much. Naruto said before heading into the office with the third Hokage, shutting the door behind him and sitting at his desk. Just so you know, Naruto, my son and a few others have already informed me of what happened with Kakashi, and I've already sent someone to get him, I want him to apologize for what he did. I never thought that he would do that when I originally placed him as your teacher. I thought he could be neutral with you. I've already had a few people put their names forward to become your new teacher. After the exams are completed, we will look at getting you a new teacher, but for now we need to talk about what you are going to do for the training. The truth is, I am short-handed right now and cannot spare anyone to train you. I am truly sorry Naruto. Hiruzen apologized. Naruto nodded his head. I understand, that's why I came here. I wanted to get your permission to go back to the land of waves for the month. Akari gave me a couple of scrolls to practice with and I'd like to get out of the village for a little bit. Between my sensei and my teammate, today has not been my day. Oh yes, I forgot about that. Suum has informed me of that incident as well. Sakura will be doing D-rank missions for the next 2 months without pay, and I can guarantee you, they will be the most demeaning missions possible. As for your request, I am not supposed to let you leave the village during the exams, but given that you are seen as a hero in the land of waves, and given that you have come to me with the request, I will make an exception and let you go, but you will have to send a messenger bird at least once a week. Hiruzen conditioned his answer. That won't be a problem, I'm going to be happy to get away for a while. I'm going to go pack now, I'll be leaving in the morning. Naruto answered. Very good, make sure you check out with the front gate and send me a message when you get to the land of waves. Hiruzen said. As Naruto stood up to leave, he looked at the Hokage with that grin of his. Just you wait, in 1 month's time you won't recognize me. I'm going to win the whole exam. I'm sure you will. Good luck with your training. Hiruzen responded. After leaving the office, making sure to say goodbye to Aimi, and once out of the tower realized there nothing else he needed to do and had no other plans, so he fell back on his standby plan, he went to his favorite spot in the woods to train. As he walked down the street towards the woods he noticed he wasn't getting hateful looks and there are no whispers behind his back. All I did was change my clothes and get a haircut and they don't even recognize me. And people call me an idiot. Naruto thought and shook his head in disappointment. Since it was basically on his way he stopped by his apartment to drop off his Hokage, he'd pack tonight. 7:56 p.m., Naruto's apartment. Naruto tiredly walked up the flight of stairs to the top floor and unlocked his door, stepping in he gathered his supplies and put them in a bag. After packing all of his supplies, he looks at it. Well, that should do it. Then he remembered the book he's been writing. Walked over to the desk and opened the top drawer, he saw it and grinned at the title. Battles of the Heart. Love or Honor. Smiling proudly as he remembered when he first started this book, it had been about a year now. And to think when Akari first suggested that I write a book how I laughed at the thought. But now I like it and who knows. When I finish it, I could talk to the old man about getting it published. Looking at the clock he saw it was almost 9 o'clock, he had some ramen and headed to bed. As he laid in bed, thinking about all the training he's going to do over the course of the month, the last image in his mind was the pale-eyed visage of Hinata as he drifted to the land of dreams. As Naruto walked through the village of the land of waves, he observed the repairs that happened during his absence, he was glad to see that the community was getting back on track. He could almost taste the happiness that permeated the air, compared to the melancholy atmosphere the village was like when he first arrived for his first real mission. When Team 7 first came to Wave, the streets were lined with trash, all of the buildings were broken down, and all of the homeless, including the children, were begging for food. Looking at the village now, he saw all of the dilapidated buildings were gone, with empty spots waiting for new buildings to be put up. All of the trash that once lined the streets had disappeared. Walking through the crowd of people and seeing all the children running and playing around brought a satisfied smile to his face. Looking down as a small ball bounced off his leg, he reached down to pick it up. Hey mister, can we have our ball back? Naruto looked at the little boy who called him to see it was Inari, a young boy he had saved during the mission in Wave. Well, look who it is. I told you I'd come back, Inari. Naruto said warmly. Inari looked at Naruto for a few seconds before he recognized him, running and jumping into a hug, tackling Naruto. I can't believe you're back already. Inari exclaimed joyfully. Hey, I told you I'd come back and I always keep my promise, Naruto responded. Have you seen my grandpa and my mom yet? Inari asked once Naruto let him down. No, not yet, I just got here. I can see people have been getting a lot of work done. Inari put on a big grin. I know, right? After you and your team had left, we went to see if Gato had anything in his mansion that we could use to fix up the village and get supplies. There were a lot of valuable things still there, so we were able to do a lot of the work faster with the bridge finished. Well, I'm glad to see you guys up and going, Naruto responded. So how long are you staying for? Inari asked with a smile. I'm only staying for the month to train for Chunin exam finals, but I'll make sure to spend time with you, too, Inari, Naruto promised. Well okay, but make sure you go see Grandpa and Mom, you remember what happened last time you were out late and Mom got a hold of you? If she finds out you're here and you don't go see her, you'll be on your own. Inari warned. Naruto glared down at Inari. You little brat, are you trying to blackmail me? No, of course not, I mean, it's not like, I don't know, my mom isn't standing right behind you and has her arms crossed or anything. Inari said. Naruto's back went stiff as a board and sweat began to pour down his face as he slowly turned around to see no one there. Hearing the sound of laughter, Naruto spun around to see Inari running down the street, laughing his head off. Looking at Inari and the ball he held in his hand, he took careful aim and threw the ball, nailing him in the back of the head, the other children off to the side busting out laughing. Naruto walked up to Inari with a victorious smirk. Let that be a lesson to you, don't try to prank the prank master. Inari sat up on the ground, his arms crossed and his cheeks puffed out. Now if you're done pouting, let's go see your grandpa and mom. Inari jumped to his feet. Fine, but this isn't over. I'll get you one way or another. I'm sure you will, and I'll make sure to get you back tenfold, Naruto promised as the two headed for Inari's house, swapping stories of what has happened since Team 7 left. As the two went up the road, they heard the high-pitched scream of a young woman, Naruto instantly pushing Inari into a bush and speaking in a harsh whisper. Listen to me very carefully, you stay in the bushes until I come back to get you, don't make a sound. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, I want you to run as fast as you can back to the village, do you understand? He asked, receiving a nod of the head from Inari. Good, just sit tight, I'll be back soon, Naruto said before jumping up to the trees and moving in the direction of the scream. It didn't take him long to reach a small clearing in which he sees 4 individuals, all male, 1 adult and 2 youths like him, all kicking a tied-up, green-haired girl. As she screamed and begged them to stop, Naruto could hear what they were saying. I can't believe you thought we were going to be your friends. Why would we be friends with a freak like you? The very fact that you believed it shows how much of an idiot you are. You are nothing but a demon. As one of the males picked up a stick and prepared to hit her with it, Naruto instantly jumped out of the trees and yelled out Shadow Clone Jutsu. Filling the small clearing with over 500 clones to swarm the 3 males, laying a beat down on them. Being caught by surprise, the fight didn't last very long, Naruto unsealed some ninja wire and tied up all 3 of them. With them secured, he headed to the girl, only for her to try to wiggle away. Please no, please don't hurt me, I'm sorry. She had tears in her eyes and seemed truly terrified. It's okay, and I'm here to help you. My name's Naruto, I'm from the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto finally noticed her headband, it was tied around her right nicep. You're from Waterfall, right? Seeing her nod her head, he smiled at getting somewhere. What's your name? My name's Fu. She answered. It's nice to meet you, Fu. Okay, I'm going to pull out a kunai so I can cut your ropes, is that okay with you? Naruto asked. Seeing her nod, he pulled out the knife and did as he said he would. Once she was free, she sat up and hugged her knees. You don't need to worry, it's going to be okay. Are they your sensei and teammates? She spoke in a soft voice. They were, but they went rogue and kidnapped me. They were going to sell me for money because I'm the Jinchuriki of the 7 tails. They thought one of the other ninja villages would give them a good price for me. If you're a ninja, you know what I am and probably hate me now, too. She burst into tears and Naruto could hear her whisper to herself. All I've ever wanted was friends. Why can I never make friends? Naruto reached out and put a hand on her shoulder. I'll be happy to be your friend because I know what it's like. I'm a Jinchuriki too and I hold the 9 tails. Before he can say anything else, she hugs him fiercely. Will you be my friend? Yes, I will. After about 10 minutes of letting her cry it out, they both get to their feet. Stay right here and I'm going to check on those 3. Naruto walked over to the 3 downed men and noticed there was no pulse or sign of life coming from any of them. Well, you won't have to worry about them hurting you anymore. He took out a scroll and sealed the bodies. Man, am I happy that Akari taught me how to use Fuinjutsu. I can't make them, but I can at least use the scrolls. Once they were secured, he put the scrolls in his pocket and planned to take them to a bounty hunting office. As he turned around, he saw Fu looking at a red cylindrical backpack with some holes in it. He walked up to her and could hear her crying again. You okay? Fu looked at Naruto and nodded her head, telling him in a soft voice that the backpack is the one thing she ever got from her mother. Don't worry about the holes, I can fix it. Okay, now I need to pick up a friend, do you think you can keep up with me? He asked, receiving a soft nod. The 2 of them headed back to the road, Naruto walking up to the bushes. You can come back out now, Inari. Tsunami-san slowly stood up and looked around. So, what was it? What happened? Inari looked ready to panic, so Naruto got down on one knee and put a hand on his shoulder to calm him down. Just breathe, Inari, okay? We're going straight to your house. Now I want you to get on my back and then we can go. Naruto swiveled around for Inari to climb on. Follow me, Fu. 5:06 p.m., Tsunami's house. They reached the house in no time. Naruto knelt down to let Inari off, he opened the door and calling out. Mom, I'm home. Tsunami's voice came from somewhere in the house. It's about time you got home and I was just about to start dinner. She came around the corner and stopped short when she saw a familiar looking boy and a green-haired girl. My goodness, is that you, Naruto? After he nodded, she walked up to him, bent down and gave him a hug, which he returned. Glad to see you, too. Naruto responded with a grin. Tsunami stood up and turned to the unfamiliar face. And who might you be? My name's Fu. She replied. Well, it's nice to meet you. Tell me, are you Naruto's girlfriend? Tsunami asked with a smirk. Both Naruto and Fu blushed bright red. Konoha, Hospital, room 206. I know this great clothing store where we can get you an outfit for your date with Naruto. It's called the Silk Kimono. Ino laid out the plans for their girls' day out. I agree with you on that, I go to that store frequently. I'm positive we can find an outfit for you, Hinata. Kurenai commented. Hinata, who had been taking notes in a small notepad, suddenly snapped her pencil as she scowled. Hinata, are you okay? Both Ino and Kurenai asked in alarm. Yes, I'm fine. I don't know what happened, I just suddenly felt as if someone took something from me. Hinata answered, slightly confused. That's strange, has that happened before? Ino asked. Not that I can recall. Hinata answered, Kurenai shaking her head in agreement when she thought it over in case Hinata forgot an incident. The only thing I can think of is someone is trying to set Naruto up with a girlfriend. Ino commented. If she even tries it, I'll show her what the gentle fist can do. Both Ino and Kurenai burst out laughing. Whatever happened to the shy little Hinata? I decided I want to be strong for Naruto. Hinata said confidently. Land of Waves, Tsunami's house. Naruto was at the dinner table talking to his friends when he felt a cold chill run down his spine. Both Fu and Tsunami looked at him in concern. Are you okay, Naruto? Tsunami asked. I'll be fine, it's just for the last couple days, I've gotten cold chills down my spine every so often. Anyway, back to the topic we were discussing. The Land of Waves made your dad its leader, so how is he taking to the responsibilities? Naruto changed the subject. Surprisingly well, after I threatened him if he didn't cut back on the drinking. Tsunami answered innocently. Naruto burst out laughing. And he listened to you? Suddenly the whole room became ice cold and a very dark look took over Tsunami's face and in a very sweet voice, she responded. You'd be surprised what a woman can do. The only thought in Naruto's head at the moment was the first chance I get and I am so picking up some books on women. The sound of the front door opening broke the tension in the air. Tsunami, I'm home. Came the gruff voice of Tazuna. We're in the kitchen and we have guests. Tazuna walked into the kitchen with a stack of papers. I've said it once and I'll say it again, this paperwork multiplies faster than I can do it. He looked up to see Naruto on the floor, laughing his head off. You said the same thing the old man always says about his paperwork, Naruto said between laughs. Tazuna put a smile on his face. Well, if it isn't the little brat. Naruto jumped to his feet and pouted. I'm not little, I just haven't had a growth spurt yet. The whole room burst out laughing. Okay, I'm going to start dinner. Tsunami said. Can I help? I've always wanted to learn how to cook. Fu requested. I'll be happy to teach you, Fu. Tsunami responded with a motherly smile. Fu ran over to hug her. Thank you so much. Tsunami walked over to the cupboards and looked in them. I'm all out of brown rice. I knew when I was at the market I forgot something. You don't need to worry about that, I got this. Naruto said, make a shadow clone and sent it to the market. Tsunami smiled at Naruto. Those clones sure come in handy. Oh man, I wish I could do things like that, it's so cool. Whined Inari. Inari, how old are you? Naruto asked, receiving a confused 9. The academy recruiting age starts around 6 to 7 so technically, if you wanted to, you could learn to become a ninja. All you need to do is get your mom to sign off on it. Inari looked at Naruto in disbelief before turning to his mom. Can I, mom, please? I'm going to have to think about this. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not saying yes either. I'll speak to Naruto alone about all the risks and how much it'll cost to send you to the academy. Tsunami said. Naruto walked over to his backpack and rummaged through it, pulling out a small book. It's a good thing I brought this and you can borrow it, Inari. It's a beginner's guide on how to mold your chakra. Why don't you spend some time reading this first? Inari took the book and went into the living room to read it. Just then, the shadow clone returned with a bag. Hope you don't mind I picked up a few other things, Tsunami. Naruto said. That was very thoughtful of you, Naruto. Now, while Fu and I are making dinner, do you think the two of you can behave? Tsunami asked. Azuna pouted at being treated like a child. Yes dear, but first I'm going to get me a drink. You can have one glass. Tsunami reminded him, receiving a yes ma'am, before turning to Naruto. Well, I gotta write a letter to the old man, anyway. He had said before the shadow clone dispelled itself. Hey, that's weird. I just got the memories of my clone. I didn't know that they could do that. Just one more thing to put in the letter, I guess. Naruto said with a shrug before getting the supplies to write his letter, while the occupants of the kitchen heard a shout from the living room. This book makes no sense. They all had a chuckle, but ultimately paid it no mind, Tazuna preoccupied with getting his drink while Fu and Tsunami began making dinner, Naruto starting his letter, trying to make it as legible as possible. Start letter. Dear old man. As agreed, I'm sending you a message to let you know that I reached the land of waves. As I was walking down the street, I could see all the changes that have happened. The village itself is getting back on its feet and most of the buildings were repaired, no more trash on the streets, no more homeless living on the street, the grocery stores have food in them. There were children roaming around the street, laughing and playing. That's how I ran into Inari, Tazuna's grandson. Soon after running into him, the little brat tried to pull a prank on me, can you believe it? He tried to pull a prank on me, the prank master. But I got him back. After we got done laughing, we were walking down the road when we suddenly heard a girl scream. I put Inari in the bushes, told him not to move or make a sound, and I jumped through the trees towards the scream. I saw 3 men beating on a tied-up girl, and when one of them was about to start hitting her with a stick, I knew I had to intervene. I flooded the clearing with clones, catching them by surprise, then secured them quickly. I checked on the girl, and at first, she screamed and begged me not to hurt her, but I was able to calm her down to learn her name. Her name is Fu, and she's a Kunoichi from the Waterfall village. She told me those 3 men were her teammates that went rogue and intended to sell her to another ninja village. That was when I found out she's the Jinchuriki of the 7 tails. After that, I checked on her teammates and found them all dead, they had pills in their mouths in case they got captured. I put the bodies in a scroll, which I plan on turning into a bounty hunting office soon. After we picked up Inari, we headed to Tazuna's house where I found out the village made Tazuna the leader of the country. That's about everything, I'll send you a letter next week. Naruto Uzumaki, the prank master and next Hokage. P.S. Did you know shadow clones give the user the memories they gain when they dispel? If that's true, why don't use them to do all that boring paperwork for you then get the memories? End letter. With a great smile on his face, Naruto put the letter in an envelope and signaled down a hidden leaf messenger bird to send it to the village. By the time he was done writing the letter, Fu and Tsunami had finished making dinner and were setting up the table. You guys need help? Tsunami looked up to Naruto. No, we're good. You 3 go wash up for dinner. Over dinner, the conversation steered toward Naruto telling them what happened at the Chunin exams, including his fight with his sensei and teammate, and his request to come here to train for the month to organize his thoughts. So Naruto, do you mind explaining what made you decide to come back here to do your training? Tazuna asked. Well, when I was here the first time, as I made my way to the bridge for the fight, I stumbled across some structures in the forest. I didn't get a chance to go back and look at them, so I thought I'd come back and look. Do you know anything about them? Naruto asked. Tazuna stroked his chin and thought. I think you might have stumbled across the ghost structures. It's a legend in these parts, sometimes they're there and sometimes they aren't. I remember my grandfather telling me stories about them. Well, I'm going to go look for them in the morning to see if it's anything that can help me with my training, Naruto said. 9 p.m. The rest of the evening passed without anything exciting happening. It's time for bed, everyone. She sweat dropped when she saw her father passed out on the couch. Inari tried to put up a fight, but a stern look from her sent him running. Phew, you'll be staying with me tonight, Naruto, you're welcome to the guest room. Thank you, Tsunami, I appreciate you letting me stay here again. Naruto said with a smile. Naruto, you will always be welcome in this house for everything you did for this country. Tsunami responded. As Naruto laid in bed, he couldn't stop thinking about what he learned about the structures, it sounded very suspicious, buildings that can appear and disappear seemingly at will. If I find anything that points to ninja activity, I'll send a letter to the old man. I just hope there are no ghosts. After he thought about it a while, Naruto finally went to sleep. July 12, 6:30 a.m. Waking up bright and early the next morning, the first one up. Deciding to be helpful, Naruto began to cook breakfast for everyone. Tsunami came in a short time later to find the kitchen held a delightful aroma. She looked to the stove to find roughly about 10 Narutos in aprons working on breakfast that smelled wonderful. When she spoke up to catch his attention, one of them turned to smile at her. I thought I would give you the day off, so have a seat. Would you like a cup of tea or coffee? Sitting at the table, Tsunami smiled. A cup of tea would be nice. A clone immediately answered her request. So where did you learn to cook? Myself. I'm an orphan and one of the unlucky ones that never gets adopted, so I had to learn to cook for myself. Naruto answered. Tsunami looked down at her cup and thought. Do you mind if I ask what happened to your parents? Naruto signaled for one of the clones to take over the stove before he walked over to table to sit with her. The truth is, I don't know anything about my parents. I don't know their names or anything. I lived in an orphanage for 5 years and then the Hokage got me an apartment when I went to the academy. I've always been by myself, well not truly alone. I've had people that take care of me. A few adults in the village who teach me a thing or two here and there. I'm sorry to hear that. I know what it's like not to have a mother, at least. Mine died when I was very young, so all I have is my father, and he did the best he could raising me. Tsunami sympathized. You don't need to apologize, Tsunami, I got over it a long time ago. Naruto said. So besides being a gourmet cook and ninja, do you have any other tricks up your sleeves? Tsunami asked to lighten the mood. Naruto chuckled and thought it over. Well, let's see, I can sew and knit, I'm good at cleaning, specifically removing stains from clothes, I'm pretty good at plumbing, electrical work, woodworking, gardening, I'm also writing on a book, and I can play the guitar. He threw in before looking at Tsunami, looked shocked. You okay? That's a lot of skills to have mastered. Tsunami finally commented. Naruto laughed it off. I've hardly mastered them, I'm more a jack of all trades, master of none. Well okay then. What's this book you're writing? Tsunami asked. Oh, that. I started it a while ago. It's just something I do in my free time. The two of them continued to talk until they heard footsteps coming down the stairs as the other occupants of the house came down for breakfast. Naruto, my boy, don't go spoiling my daughter, now, by doing all the housework. I'm going to need her to take care of me at the end of the month. Tazuna commented jokingly. Tsunami shot her father a dirty look. You know what? I think both of you can start helping with the housework. Yes ma'am. Both Inari and Tazuna responded dejectedly. Good. Now, I want you to bring down all your dirty clothes. I'm going to teach you how to use the washing machine. She said to her son before turning to Tazuna as Inari ran up the stairs. Well, I'm heading off to work now, Tazuna said almost too quickly, receiving a nod all the same. Excuse me, Tsunami, will you teach me, too? Fu asked shyly. Of course, dear, why don't you write down a list of things you want to learn? I'll do my best to help you. Tsunami offered kindly. Yes. Fu cheered before taking the notepad Naruto offered up before she began to write down what would be a long list of things she's always wanted to know. The mother of the house put on a smile at seeing how happy the child was, especially after what happened to her yesterday. I'm going to head out and look for those structures. Naruto said as he left the house and headed for the woods. Okay, Fu, now that all the men are out of the way, what do you want me to teach you first? Tsunami asked. Okay, the first thing I want to learn is where do babies come from? Fu asked innocently. Naruto picked up the pace when that was the last thing he heard out the door. 7:08 a.m., Konoha, Hokage Tower. Hiruzen was sitting at his desk in the middle of a life and death battle with the greatest enemy of all ages paperwork. The day had just begun, and he already had a cramp in his hand. He set his brush down to nurse it. I have been doing this job for close to 38 years, and I have yet to figure out the secret to defeating this monster. How my predecessors did this, I will never know. He looked at the pictures on the wall, swearing that the previous 3 Hokage were grinning at him. I still can't believe they wouldn't tell me the secret. I am the professor and god of shinobi, and I will not be defeated by paperwork. He declared before looking back at the stack and seeing it had doubled in size. Understandably, he felt tears forming and doubt in his heart. His thoughts were broken by a knock on the door, he sighed and called them in. It was Sakura Haruno. You wanted to see me, Hokage-sama? Sakura asked meekly. Yes, I want to discuss something, take a seat. Would you mind explaining to me what you were doing yesterday? Hiruzen said harshly. Could you please be more Sakura replied. Hiruzen shot to his feet and slammed his hands on the desk, interrupting her mid-word. I am talking about the way you treated Naruto, and don't even think about trying to deny it. I have several eyewitnesses who have given me a complete account of what transpired. I am very disappointed in you, not only were you attempting to rob a fellow Leaf Ninja, but you also tried to slander his parents. I will have you know that both of Naruto's parents were great ninja. They loved Naruto so much they used their bodies as human shields to protect him from the fox. And for you to dishonor the name of his parents is the last straw. You are to be put on probation and will be doing D-rank missions for the next 2 months without pay. At the end of the 2 months if you have all Sakura could do was nod her head, shaking in fear. Good. Here is your first mission, the Inyazuka need to have the kennels cleaned. He gave her the scroll, which she took and made for the door. And I expect you to apologize to Naruto. He said as she headed for the door. Once she was out, he picked up his pipe and had a sort of victory smoke before hearing a little tapping on the window. It was a messenger bird. Standing up and walking to the window, he opened it and took the scroll. Thank you, my friend. He bid it farewell and sat back down, opening the scroll to read the contents. He had to read the first part multiple times to make sure he saw it right, finding it highly amusing that the boy can't go a single mission without something going wrong. Either way, he was happy that Naruto was able to meet another Jinchuriki. He had heard rumors of how the hidden waterfall village treated their Jinchuriki. Perhaps Naruto would make a friend. Then he stopped dead in his tracks at the end of the letter. P.S. Did you know shadow clones give the user the memories they gain when they dispel? If that's true, why don't use them to do all that boring paperwork for you then get the memories? Aimi was sitting at her desk, looking at the schedule for today. He's got a busy schedule today on top of all the paperwork he has. It's going to be a real hassle to get all this done. She said to herself, got up and was about to knock on the door when she heard a loud scream from inside. Without missing a beat, she rushed in. Hokage-sama, are you okay? She stopped in her tracks when she saw the third Hokage doing a victory dance while 4 clones made quick work of the paperwork. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. I finally defeated the monster. Finally, I'm free. Here is enchanted with a giant grin before freezing in place as he looked to the left, seeing Aimi with her jaw dropped. He compassed himself and coughed into his hand. As shown by my demonstration, the paperwork will be finished very soon. What's my next appointment for today? He attempted to move on. Aimi rolled with it and looked at the clipboard. You have a meeting about 2 hours. Good, I'm going to go train my grandson until then. While I'm gone I want you to go to the mission room and put a completed S-rank mission in Naruto's file, with pay and a large bonus, and make sure the money is put in his account. Hiruzen said. I'll make sure to get it done right away, and it's good to see you smiling again. Aimi said as they both headed out to do their things. 8:01 AM, Wave Country, Forest. Naruto has been in the woods outside the village about 45 minutes looking for the structure, before finally seeing something in the distance and sprinting to it. I knew I'd find it eventually. He looked around the building for an entryway and found a big door which he couldn't push open for the life of him, then noticed a small ring and pulled on it, opening the door. Okay, I'm seriously starting to think maybe people are right and I'm an idiot. He muttered to himself before taking out a kunai to be on the safe side and slowly walked in. The first large room had a flight of stairs on the right going up and left going down, and looking to the right saw a bunch of doors lining the wall. Normally I'd make a dozen clones to help me search the building, but I have to start acting smart. He whispered to himself and began with the doors, searched the entire building in about 2 hours, and found many interesting rooms. Finally he found a metal door with a nameplate. Mayuri Kuritsuchi. Guess this must be the leader's office. He slowly stepped in and saw it was bigger than the Hokage's office. There were tables everywhere with test tubes, beakers, and a lot of scientific equipment, including a large tube-like machine in the center of the room. At the far end, Naruto could see a massive machine that looked like a pipe organ, but with a lot more keys and a big screen. He had seen a computer once before, but it was nowhere this big or sophisticated. He made his way across the room to the machine and took the sheet off the nearby table, unveiling a metal helmet with a lot of cords coming out of it, which he picked up to take a closer look at. I don't see how this is going to help my training, and I'm sure not a scientist. He decided to throw caution to the wind and put it on cautiously, only for nothing to happen. Don't see what this was supposed to do, he droned before seeing a red button on the table. What could it hurt? He slapped the button, instantly collapsing to his knees as wave after wave of pain shot through his body. After what seemed like forever, the pain stopped and knowledge began to flash before his eyes, all sorts of equations and formulae and history, things he could not even begin to understand. This process went on for another hour before it stopped. He shakily stood up and took off the helmet, making his way to the machine at the back and collapsing into the chair, rubbing his head to sort through all the information shoved into his skull. Without thinking, he reached out and typed on the keys, the screen lighting up to show a giant face. Hello Naruto Uzumaki, my name is Mayuri Kuritsuchi, and seeing you have survived the downloading process proves to me you are worthy of my knowledge. Now, I guess you want to know what this place is. Naruto shakily nodded, mesmerized. Are you alive? He wondered since a program had a name. No. Before I left this place, I transferred a copy of my consciousness to this computer so that one day, if someone survived the process, I could help them. Mayuri replied. Well, that makes sense. Naruto said. So what is this place, and how do you know my name? The helmet you put on transferred all your knowledge to the computer, allowing me to know everything about you, and I can assure you that I can help you get the power you need for your fight at the end of the month. Now, this is a safe house I made to store all my knowledge. Because of the download of my experience to your brain, you know I'm not of this world. We will now begin a history of my world and what the purpose of this lab is. Mayuri said, then started to explain how he came to find Naruto's world. Naruto sat and listened to Mayuri's lecture. When I first discovered this world, I was intrigued by this energy you call chakra. I spent several years studying your people and recording several events, including what came to be known as the First, Second, and Third Shinobi World Wars. But eventually concluded my research and returned to my dimension, Soul Society. However, I decided to leave this laboratory as a fail-safe should Soul Society ever fall. Inside this computer, you will find a complete history of the Soul Society, including our techniques of Hado and Kido, and to ensure the safety of all my research up to that point, I left my greatest invention. The machine in the center of the room can make an artificial copy of any of the captains, lieutenants, and all the seated officers, plus a few other noteworthy individuals. Once you make one, they will follow any and all orders you give them, and they would have all their powers they had in my dimension. I also left an extensive range of equipment for Soul Reapers and Quincy's, and a couple of items I was able to make that can give someone the power of a Fullbringer. One of these is a set of hairpins that was once used by a human female that gave her the ability to seemingly heal any injury, including regenerating entire body parts. In actuality, they allowed her to reject reality itself, reverse time and space within the influence of her techniques for various effects. However, this power came at a cost. The power relies on the determination of the user, and feelings such as doubt can make it weaker, while conviction can make it stronger. Naruto continued to listen for another 3 hours, being told the history of the 3 shinobi world wars, including videos of great battles, such as the one between the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara at what would become the Valley of the End. Then another 2 hours of boring lecturing and a history lesson before it finally ended, and Naruto took a moment to soak it all in. Now, do you have any questions? Can I gain the powers of a Soul Reaper? Naruto asked. Of course you can. Because you have chakra, it will be a simple matter of altering the output of your spiritual energy. There's a chemical compound formula in this computer that can allow you, or anyone else for that matter, to achieve the powers of a Soul Reaper, or a Quincy for that matter. If you look to your left and choose to become a Soul Reaper, that machine there will allow you to make a Zanpakuto. Mayuri answered. A massive grin broke out on Naruto's face. Great. Before that, show me a list of everyone I'll be working with. He requested. Then multiple windows popped up on the screen with the faces of several individuals, which Naruto knew he couldn't count by himself. In my fight at the end of the month, I'm going up against someone that specializes in hand-to-hand combat. Who would you recommend to help train me against that, Mayuri? He asked. All but 3 of the windows closed. These 3 would be the best to train you in such. The first is former captain of Squad 2, Uchiha Shihuin. She was known as the Flash Goddess, specializing in hand-to-hand, stealth, and assassination. The second is her replacement and former apprentice Soifin, who has the same specialties. Lastly is Kisuke Urahara, former captain of Squad 12, he had a broad range of skills and abilities. Mayuri then listed off. What are their personalities like? Naruto asked, hoping to get a picture of what he would have on his hands should he choose any of them as his sensei for the next month. Uchiha is a free spirit, all she wants is to live her life how she wants and fight strong individuals. Soifin is dedicated to her job, a by-the-books person, she has zero tolerance for those who would break the law. She believes in hard, and some would say harsh, work in her training of her subordinates. While I loathe to admit it, Kisuke is quite intelligent and more than capable in a fight. But my intellectual superiority will always win out. Mayuri added. Naruto chuckled and nodded, sitting back in his chair before wincing and rubbing his head. When will this headache go away? Your headache should dissipate in 2 to 3 hours. Remember that you had quite a bit of information put into your head, so it will be some time before your mind sorts through it all. When it does, you should find that you will be able to memorize and learn things much easier. Mayuri brought up. Naruto looked over at the clock on the wall and saw that it was about 4 o'clock, which explained his angry stomach. Okay, I'm leaving, but I'll come back tomorrow. Is there anyone I should activate now so I can get the lab going? He asked. I would recommend activating my assistant and daughter, Nemu. She should be able to clean the place up and get it ready to go. Mayuri advised. Naruto nodded and typed out a series of keys on the computer before the tube in the middle of the room began to make sounds. After a few seconds of this, a small door opened with smoke pouring out of it, Naruto able to see a figure in the tube before they stepped out. Indeed, it was Lieutenant of Squad 12, Nemu Kuritsuchi, who began to look around before spotting Naruto and bowing. How may I be of service to you? She asked quietly and kindly. Naruto smiled and stood up from his chair. Hello Nemu, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I would like you to start getting this place cleaned up and running. I'll return in the morning, so I also want you to have a chemical compound ready that will make me into a Soul Reaper if you can. He requested. Nemu nodded. I will follow all of your orders to the letter, and you have my assurance Naruto-sama that. Stop it right there. Naruto interrupted. I don't want some obedient servant, I hope we can be friends, but don't call me Sama, okay Nemu? If you have your concerns, or you want something, or you think I'm too bossy, I want you to tell me. Can you do that for me? He asked. Very well Naruto-kun. Nemu said with a slight smile on her face. 4:28 p.m., Wave Village. Naruto said farewell before heading out, deciding to stop off at the market and pick up a few more supplies. Jumping through the trees, he made it to the village in about 5 minutes, got some groceries and headed down the street with a smile on his face, now that the village is no longer gloomy. As he walked, he thought to himself about the 3 individuals that Mayuri recommended to him. I think I'll go with Uchiha, she sounds like the best bet to me. He thought as he passed by an alley and heard laughter, but it seemed to have a mocking undertone to it. Jumping up to a nearby roof, he put the bags down and looked over the edge, instantly becoming furious at what he saw. There were 5 boys no older than 8 cornering a young girl, saying things that only made him angrier. Well, look who we have here, boys, it's the dog freak. Where's your little pack of mutts, the apparent leader had asked before he punches her in the stomach, the others boys laughing at her misery. One of the other boys grabbed her by the front of her shirt and slammed her against the wall. Look at this filthy piece of trash, why are you still in our village? I would think you would have left with your mom, oh that's right, she took off without you the moment she got a chance. That just proves how much of a disgusting freak you are. The girl merely looked up at them. Please, I just came to the village to get some food. Oh, it's food you want? I think we can help you. Another boy said before grabbing a trash can. Before he could dump it on her, Naruto jumped down between them, leaking a massive amount of killing intent and bloodlust, before speaking in a low, threatening voice that sent a shiver down everybody's spines. Get out of my sight now, before I get mad. And if I ever see any of you again, you're not going to like what happens to you. The boys scrambled over and pushed each other to get away from Naruto as fast as possible. Naruto turned around and got down on his knees to be closer to the girl, as she was on the floor. Are you okay? He asked, as she held her stomach and slowly lifted her head, giving Naruto a good look at her face. He could tell right away that she was at least half Inuzuka, and probably from her mom, if those jerks were right. Now the dog freak comment makes sense, she had the normal features of the Inuzuka, especially the wild, spiky brown hair to her shoulders. Well, mostly, her eyes had a slight yellowish tint, but maybe that was common, after all Hana looked normal except for her cheek marks. Before he could do anything else, she tackled him in a hug, bawling her eyes out, saying thank you over and over. In response, Naruto wrapped his arms around her and sat on the ground, his back against the wall, letting her vent out everything, rubbing her back and whispering to her softly that everything was going to be okay. The two of them sat for a long time, Naruto listening to her cry and say this or that, reminded of how he first met Tsume. Flashback, 6 years ago. The 6-year-old Naruto was making his way back to his apartment after eating at his new favorite restaurant. Man, they sure do have great ramen. I'm going to have to go back and get more. Wonder if I can go there tomorrow for lunch. He looked up to the sky and soaring clouds. I better hurry up and get home. He said to himself, deciding to take a shortcut through an alley to get there faster. As he walked through the alleys he knew like the back of his hand, he caught wind of a whining sound behind some boxes. Moving them to the side, he found a dog lying on its side, whining in pain. Naruto could see it had been beaten, from all the patches of fur missing, bruises forming, and blood in its fur. Who could have done this to a poor doggy? Don't worry, little guy, I'll get you some help. I can't take him to the vet, they don't like me. Naruto said, and trying to figure out what he should do before remembering the friend he made in the park and how he mentioned his family worked with dogs. What was his last name? Come on, think it was Inuzuka. Happy with himself for remembering, Naruto took one of the boxes and carried the dog in it carefully so as not to agitate its injuries. He made his way to the Inuzuka compound within 5 minutes, heavy rain, high winds, and lightning forming on his way there. Determined to keep the dog safe, he took his jacket off and wrapped the dog in it. Barely able to see in front of him because of the wind and rain, he struggled to reach the front door. When he did, he knocked. When no one came, he began to panic and repeatedly banged on the door. In the living room, Tsume was lounging in her favorite recliner next to the fireplace, reading her favorite book, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi. She jumped slightly when the pounding on the door began. Who the hell could that be in this weather? She got up and opened the door, seeing a little blonde boy with whisker marks on his cheeks, holding a box and looking soaked and slightly terrified. Who are you, what do you want, and what the heck are you doing out in this weather? My name is Naruto Uzumaki. He said, then looked up at her after he dropped to his knees. Please, you've got to help me. I found an injured dog in the alley next to my house. I met a boy named Kiba from this clan, and he said his family works with dogs. You've got to help me, please. He begged. Tsume quickly brought him inside, putting them both in front of the fireplace and wrapping Naruto in a blanket that was hanging off the back of the couch. With that taken care of, she turned her attention to the box and removed the jacket, gritting her teeth at the condition of the dog. If I find out who did this, I'll rip their. She saw him shaking in fear out of the corner of her eye, so she took some calming breaths. Stay right here, I'll get some supplies to help. She said, getting a nod from Naruto. Tsume left the room to grab some medical supplies, and while she was gone, Naruto looked to the door when he heard some noise. It was a girl a few years older than him and his new friend Kiba. "What are you doing here, Naruto?" Kiba asked. "I was on my way home and took a shortcut down an alley. I found an injured dog in it, and I remembered how you said your family worked with dogs, so I brought it here so I could get it help," Naruto explained, the both of them immediately running towards the box, finding the bleeding dog. "Naruto, do you know who did this?" the girl asked, growling. Naruto shook his head. "I'm sorry, I don't know." Tsume came running in, carrying some bandages for the dog. "Good, both of you are here. Hana, go and get some buckets of water. Kiba, take Naruto to your room and let him borrow some clothes. Warm or not, it won't be healthy to let him stay in those until they dry," she said. Hana made a beeline for the kitchen while Kiba and Naruto walked out of the room, passing by Hana with a bucket of water. After Naruto had changed his clothes, they walked back into the living room, seeing Tsume and Hana on the couch, the matriarch walking over and hugging the blonde. And said. "The dog's going to be okay. From this day forward, you'll always be considered a friend of the Inuzuka clan, because not too many people would go to these lengths for a dog they don't know." Then flashback. Humming out of his memories, Naruto looked down to see the girl was asleep in his arms. He made a shadow clone to take the groceries, then adjusted her position and began to carry her back to the house, walking in to see Fu and Tsunami cooking supper. With a finger to his lips, he whispered. "Is there a place I can put her?" he asked, Tsunami motioning for Naruto to follow her, bringing them upstairs to bring her to bed, the both of them returning to the kitchen. "Okay Tsunami, who is that girl and why did I find her being beaten up in an alley by 5 snot-nosed brats?" he asked. Tsunami started crying. Her name is Nariko. The reason she was being beaten up by the other boys is because her mother was one of Gato's women he brought in as a plaything. She was already pregnant at the time, and when your team ended Gato's reign, she took off for freedom, leaving Nariko here. She never really cared for her and said she was nothing but a burden on her. Several other women in the village and I have tried to help her, but she is so much like a boy, stubborn and refuses to do anything feminine. Then there's the pack of wild dogs she always hangs out with, she says she can understand them. That's another reason the kids pick on her, believe me we've tried, but she won't accept help from anyone," she explained. Naruto let out a breath as he processed all that. "It's okay, and I know who her family is. I might not know her mother or father specifically, but I know what family she comes from. She's a member of a clan from my village, the Inuzuka. They're famous for their affiliation with canines, they have the ability to talk to them, and most of the women are rather tomboyish, relatively rough around the edges. Do you think your father would care if I send a letter to let them know about her? I'm friends with the clan head. You don't need to worry about anything, and there are 2 things you need to know about the Inuzuka. They value loyalty above all else, and they care about their family." Naruto. Tsunami still had tears running down her face, but she was smiling. "Naruto, if you can give that little girl a family, you do it. I know for a fact my father wouldn't disagree with this decision," she said. "Good, the moment they hear that she's here, they'll send someone to pick her up and take her home. She'll be a welcome addition to the family," Naruto assured her. Just then, the 3 of them heard crying from upstairs. "Don't worry, I'll go take care of it," he said, heading upstairs and entering the room, seeing Nariko awake in bed, crying. "How are you doing, Nariko?" Nariko looked at him through her tears, hiccuping a few times. How do you know my name?" "Do you know a woman named Tsunami?" Naruto asked first. Nariko smiled slightly and nodded. "Yeah, she's the pretty lady who brings me food when she can. Well right now, we're in her home. Now I have a question for you, how would you like to meet your family? And no, I'm not talking about your mother. You see, you are from a family called the Inuzuka, they're a ninja clan from the Hidden Leaf village. They're famous for working with dogs, and if you want, I can send a letter and let them know that you're here. You'd be welcomed into that family, and I'm sure they'll let you bring your dogs with you," Naruto offered. The only answer he got was a flying tackle. Yes. If they are my family, I will do anything to get to know them," Nariko said. Naruto chuckled and sat back up. "Okay, I'll send a letter to let them know you're here. If I send it tonight, they should be here tomorrow to pick you up and take you home. Okay, let's go back downstairs and have dinner, I'm sure you're pretty hungry." His response came in the form of Nariko's stomach growling loudly, causing her face to go bright red, causing Naruto to chuckle. Embarrassed, Nariko punched him in the stomach. "It's not funny," she pouted. "You're gonna need some training, all the Inuzuka I know are strong, and that punch didn't even hurt," Naruto commented, turning to go downstairs, laughing, causing Nariko to continue assaulting him. Naruto walked into the kitchen, Fu and Tsunami turned to see him carrying Nariko, who was pouting, crossing her arms, and muttering to herself about stupid blondes. "Just you wait till I'm bigger. Hope you don't mind, I brought a friend to dinner," Naruto said with a smile. Not a problem, father is staying at his office tonight and Inari is sleeping over at a friend's, so it looks like you're having dinner with 3 ladies. Tsunami commented, gesturing as if she were of high society. Naruto put Nariko down and chuckled. Should I be worried about you 3 trying to corrupt me? Tsunami giggled. I'm old enough to be your mother, but feel free to take a chance with Fu. She jokingly advised. Does this mean Naruto wants to make babies with me? Fu asked innocently. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Of course not, where would you get an idea like that? Naruto looked at Tsunami. What have you been teaching her? Tsunami grabbed hold of Fu's shoulder. You and I are going to have to review a few lessons. Naruto, can you please keep an eye on the stove? This won't take very long. She asked, taking Fu out of the room when the blonde nodded. Naruto made a shadow clone and had it watch the stove in his place while he tended to Nariko, spying some scrapes and bruises. I want you to have a seat, okay? I'll go get some bandages and ointment to clean you up. You won't use that spray, will you? It hurts. Nariko begged. Don't worry, I have some ointment, it's a lot better and doesn't hurt, I promise. Naruto assured her, making a quick run for his temporary room and coming back to treat her wounds. And now you're a doctor. Tsunami joked. Naruto shook his head. No, but I can patch up scrapes and bruises pretty well. Of course that was before he realized he didn't need to for the minor ones because he healed so fast, but now was glad he had. The clone came over to tell them dinner was ready and over the course of their meal, Naruto told Nariko all he knew about her clan. No way, they use dogs to fight, Nariko parroted excitedly. That's right, there's even a dog that talks like humans and some dogs are as big as horses, you can ride 'em too, Naruto said. Nariko gasped at Naruto in surprise, eyes twinkling with excitement. Okay Naruto, I think that's enough for now, Nariko, stop pushing your vegetables to the side of your plate and eat them. Tsunami said. But I hate vegetables. Nariko pouted. Well you better get used to eating them. I told you about Tsum, she's been known to shove vegetables down her kid's throat. I'm not kidding. I've seen her do it. One time I was over for dinner with her and her son refused to eat them. She tied him to a chair and shoved them in his mouth. Naruto said. And with that, Nariko's vegetables began disappearing, possibly as terrified as her. After dinner, the dishes were being cleaned by shadow clones, while the 4 occupants sat in the living room, Tsunami teaching Nariko go fish, while Fu examined her freshly prepared pack that Naruto just repaired for her, the blonde off to the side ready to write his letter to Tsum. He was also going to send a few pictures he had taken of Nariko, he could almost see the look on her face when she opened the letter. He knew that she would be the one to come pick her up, he also knew Nariko would fit right into the family, catching wind of Nariko asking for any threes, only for the girl to be shot down. Start letter. Dear Tsum. I'm currently in the land of waves. This evening, I was walking to the house I'm staying at for the month before the Chunin exams, and as I was passing an alley, I heard laughter coming from it. I jumped onto the roof to see what it was and found 5 boys preparing to beat up a girl. After I ran them off, I checked on the girl, she's at least half Inyazuka. She had the same eyes and features of your clan, and she confirmed that she could speak to dogs. It would seem she has already made friends with a bunch of wild dogs, and she acts so much like an Inyazuka it's not even funny. After she woke up I'd already learned her name was Nariko, and after a bit of back and forth that resulted in me laughing at her stomach doing the talking, she tried to punch me in the stomach. I brought her downstairs for dinner and told her all about the clan, she's excited to meet you and your family. I also included some pictures of her. As for her parents, the father is unknown. If you remember, I told you about the tyrant that took over the country, apparently, her mother was one of his playthings, she was already pregnant when Geto took her. From my sources, I was able to find out the mother never cared for Nariko and said she was nothing but a burden and made a break for it when Geto was killed, leaving Nariko to fend for herself. I'll explain more when I can, if it's possible, can you or someone else come and pick her up? Just ask for Tezuna's house. Naruto Uzumaki. End letter. Looking up from his letter and at the corner, Naruto saw that the girls built a tent with pillow sheets and chairs, with a sign saying no boys allowed. Standing up and walking over, he knocked on the front door, Fu's head popping out. What is going on here? He asked. We're having a camp out, no boys allowed. Fu answered before blowing a raspberry and ducking back inside. Okay you two have fun, I'm going to send this letter. Naruto said. Doing that quickly, he headed back upstairs to go to bed early today, content with the day's work. July 13, sunrise, Tsunami's house. As the sun's rays hit Naruto's face, he sat up in bed and stretched his back until the relieving pop came before making his way to the bathroom and turning on the light to wash his face in the faucet until he saw himself. Phew, Nariko. He yelled. Naruto ran downstairs to the kitchen, just catching sight of the perpetrators running out the back door. The sound of his yelling and footsteps caused Tsunami to turn around, getting an eyeful of his face, covered with makeup and accentuating his angry face. Understandably, Tsunami began roaring with laughter, causing Naruto to glare. "Did you have anything to do with this?" he asked accusingly. No, I promise it wasn't my fault. Few asked about some old makeup and then I went to bed. I had no idea, I promise," Tsunami said, waving her hands to ward off the eruption of Mount Naruto. As scary as her mother's side could be and how much he liked her, if he was to prank or just embarrass her, she was doomed. The only good side to that, if he did, was his age. If he was an experienced adult or even just a pervert, as an attractive single woman, the list of things he could do to her was almost terrifying. And deep down that little perverted side of herself that hadn't been out in several years wanted him to since legally he was an adult, but she quickly locked up those thoughts in the back of mind. She was more than twice as old as him anyway, and he should have a girl closer to his own age. Fine. I'll deal with them later, I'm gonna go take a shower. Naruto left the kitchen, grumbling to himself about revenge. That's a real good color of blush for you. Tsunami could at least have a bit of fun with him, giggling when his footsteps sped up. With him gone, she reached into her apron pocket and took out a picture of a sleeping Naruto post-makeup assault. "Just because I didn't have a hand in it doesn't mean I won't use it against you," she laughed to herself, pocketing the picture. After his shower, Naruto came downstairs to see Fu and Noriko sitting at the table, shooting them a dirty look. "I'm going to get you back for that, just you wait," he promised. Noriko used the dreaded puppy eyes jutsu on him or tried. "I'm sorry," she said in an exaggerated, more childish voice. "Okay, you're definitely part of the Inuzuka clan. That reminds me, Fu, did you decide what you're going to do? Are you going to go back to the hidden waterfall village?" Naruto asked. "No, I hate that place and never want to go back. Can I go to your village with you?" Fu asked. "I don't see why not, I'm sure the old man will be happy to have you," Naruto said. "I can't let her meet Ino, that's just a disaster waiting to happen," he thought. Equals Konoha, Inuzuka compound. Tsume had just sat down at the table with some coffee and the morning paper, both of her children walking in and grabbing a pair of apples off the table. "What are you two up to today?" she asked idly. "I'm gonna go work on my Fang over Fang, I need to get more power behind it," Kiba said. "The vet clinic is making me take my vacation, so I have nothing to do today," Hana said, pouting slightly. Drinking her coffee, Tsume had an idea and smirked. "Well, I'm off duty today, so how about we have a girl's day out? We haven't had one of those in a while." Before Hana could answer, a tapping at the window got everyone's attention. Tsume walked over to the messenger bird and took the scroll, sitting back down at the table to read it. After just a few seconds, both her children could see she was incredibly upset with what she was reading. "Mom, are you okay?" they both asked. "Jane J plans, the three of us are going on a trip," Tsume suddenly said. "Where to?" Kiba asked. "The land of waves, it seems Naruto found a little girl he believes is at least half Inuzuka." Tsume answered, passing the letter to Hana, who was closest, 3 pictures falling out. Hana read through it quickly, passed it to Kiba, and picked up the pictures. "He might be right, she does look like an Inuzuka," Hana commented, passing them to Kiba when he finished reading, getting a nod of agreement from him. Tsume stood up. "I'm going to the Hokage to let him know we'll be out for the day, I want both of you at the front gate in 45 minutes," she said, receiving a pair of nods before she disappeared in a swirl of leaves. 2 minutes later, Hokage Tower. Tsume quickly made her way to the top of the tower and knocked on the door, stepping in when he said enter, seeing the Hokage at his desk, no paperwork hounding him, surprisingly. "Good morning, Hokage-sama." "Good morning, Tsume, now what brings you to my office so early in the morning? If I'm not mistaken, you have today off," Hiruzen commented. "That's correct, but as I was sitting at breakfast with my kids, a messenger bird brought a scroll from Naruto," Tsume began. Hiruzen began to rub his temples. "What has he done now?" he bemoaned. Tsume handed him the scroll and pictures, seeing him smile as he read it. "I see, so this is what you came here for." "Yes, my children and I are going to head out to bring her home," Tsume said. "Very well, the 3 of you have my permission to go pick up your clansman, please make sure to tell Naruto how proud I am of him," Hiruzen said with a smile. "I'll make sure to pass the message on," Tsume affirmed, smiling as well. "I'll also be having the equivalent of an A rank missions pay to put in his file from my personal account done by this afternoon." "Good luck, Tsume," Hiruzen said. The Inuzuka matriarch quickly made for the front gate of the village, seeing her children with their dogs. "We're going to run at top speed with no brakes, we should be there within 5.5 hours," she said before the lot of them made for the trees and headed east. After a while, Hana spoke up. "What are we gonna do with Noriko, Mom?" "I'm considering bringing her into the main family, with us," Tsume answered as she traversed the branches. It'd be nice to have another girl in the house, and I've always wanted a little sister, should be fun, Hana commented. 7:26 AM, Wave Country, Mayuri's bunker. As Naruto walked up to the lab, he spoke to himself. Today, things are going to change. After today, I won't be the dead last anymore. He made his way into the main room, spying Nemu at one of the machines, working on what was probably the compound. Good morning Nemu, were you able to get what I asked done? Nemu turned to him and bowed. Yes, I was able to get the chemicals ready, the laboratory is now at 100% efficiency. Naruto nodded, then turned to the computer screen, Mayuri's face appeared on it. Okay Mayuri, what's this chemical gonna do to me? Its main function will be boosting the strength of your soul, thereby granting you spiritual powers like the Soul Reapers. Mayuri answered. Nodding, Naruto walked over to one of the tables, took off his jacket and shirt, then laid down. Okay Nemu, I'm ready whenever you are. He gave her the go. Mayuri's lieutenant walked forward with a syringe filled with a green liquid before he looked to the computer. How long will this process take? It all depends on the strength of your soul. Mayuri replied. Nemu injected Naruto in the arm, almost immediately knocking him out, only for the blonde to wake up in a strange room, with giant bars running from the floor to a high ceiling shrouded by darkness, a piece of paper with the word seal acting as a lock. From the darkness beyond the bars came two giant red eyes with slit pupils. Well, if it isn't the little brat. What do you think you're doing here? QP said. Shut up, you stupid fox. Naruto responded immediately. I was afraid he'd get your temper. An unseen man said. Well, at least he got your sense of fashion and good looks. An unseen woman said. Naruto spun around at the strange voices and saw a blonde man and a red-haired woman. Who are you? We're your parents. They proclaimed exuberantly with their arms and smiles on their faces. In a strange sense of deja vu, Naruto passed out while inside his mindscape. As Naruto regained his consciousness, he felt the sensation of gentle fingers stroking his hair. Eventually gaining a sense of his location, Naruto noticed the man and woman who claimed to be his parents. Startled by this revelation, Naruto jumping to his feet he exclaimed, who are you and why are we in a sewer? The blonde-haired man spoke calmly. Everything's going to be okay Naruto, if you give us a chance we'll explain everything. Why should I even listen to you? I know exactly who you are, you're that bastard fourth Hokage. It's because of you that I'm one of the most hated people in the village. Do you know what it's like to walk down the street of your village with people always yelling and screaming at you? To have almost every store in the village refuse to sell you something, and to have angry mobs chase you down to beat you unconscious, only to wake up to see a nurse attempting to smother you? Or how about being sold food laced with poison, to have almost no friends, and the ones I could make I have to keep at arm's length to protect them? To go to bed every night not knowing if I'm loved, to have almost every teacher at the academy hate you. And you think you have the right to be my father? Naruto pointed towards the nine-tailed fox. You put that inside of me and left me with no one to take care of me, and to not even know why I'm hated for 12 years. No, you no longer deserve to call yourself a father, if you really are my father. The only thing either parent could do was hang their heads in shame. And who are you supposed to be? Naruto asked a red-haired woman. The woman looked at Naruto with tears in her eyes. My name is Kushina Uzumaki, and I am your mother. Naruto's once warm eyes froze to an ice blue. Did you help him put that thing in me? The only thing that Kushina could do was nod her head. I never wanted to do it. I begged him to seal the QB back into me, but I was already weak from having you, not to mention the damage that was done to me from the previous attack. She got down on her hands and knees with her forehead touching the floor. Please forgive me Naruto, all I ever wanted was for you to be happy. I knew the village would never accept you, that's why I wanted the fox to go back inside of me, but we were out of time, and only an Uzumaki can contain the 9 tails. We made a mistake, we wanted the village to see you as a hero, but as you said, the villagers never did that. If you would just please give us a chance, we could make it up to you. Naruto slowly walked up to her, bent down and put his hand on her shoulder, causing her to slowly look up at him, before he wrapped her in a hug. He began to break down, crying into her shoulder. Standing off to the side, Minato was thinking about all the mistakes he made. Naruto released a hug before speaking. Okay, now how are you both here? Kushina looked over to her husband. Do you have any idea how this happened? She asked. Minato shook his head. No. Naruto, what happened before you came in here? Where exactly is here, anyway? Naruto asked. We're inside your mind, it's a place where you can sort out your thoughts. It can also let you contact the 9 tails. Minato answered. Naruto looked around the sewer-like room, with metal pipes running across the ceiling and water on the floor. This is my mind. This is just great, now I owe Ino 1000 Ryo, she always said I must have a sewer for a brain. He commented, making both parents laugh before he jumped to his feet and pouted. It's not funny, she's always teasing me about it. It's going to be okay, now tell us what happened. Kushina requested, Naruto nodding before telling his parents all about the Chunin exams, including his fight in the Forest of Death with Orochimaru, all of the preliminary round matches, how he swore to beat Neji on Hinata's blood, and how his sensei reacted when he asked for training. Naruto, who is your sensei? Minato asked with a frown. Kakashi Hokage, why? Naruto asked. Minato and Kushina become enraged. Naruto, what else has he taught? They dared to ask. The tree walking technique. Naruto answered before they gestured for him to continue. That's it. I always told you he was unstable, Minato. Between the death of his teammates and father and the way he always clung to you, you should have taken his headband. I bet once you died, he put all his anger towards Naruto and blamed him for it. Kushina accused. Wait for a second, you were Kakashi's sensei? Naruto asked. Minato nodded solemnly. I'm sad to say I was. Naruto let out a grow-like sigh before shaking it off. Okay, let's get back to what we were talking about. After he ditched me, I had a fight with my other teammate. After that, I decided to get some fresh air and train in a place where I could have peace, so I asked the Hokage if I can come to the Land of Waves. During my mission here weeks ago I found some strange building in the forest, so I decided to come here and see what was in it. It turned out that the building was a failsafe built by a man named Mayuri Kuritsuchi, who was from another world. After that, I had Nemu give me the serum, he said that it would boost the strength of my soul and the spiritual aspect of my chakra. He explained, describing the lab. Kushina pinched her nose in exasperation. Naruto, that was incredibly reckless, you had no idea what was going to happen or what could have happened. She chastised. I know, Mom, but I really didn't have much choice. Naruto responded with a shrug. Minato snapped his fingers in realization. I think I figured out what happened. This serum was supposed to strengthen your soul. When I sealed the 9 tails in you, I put a sliver of mine and your mother's souls into the seal to help you in the future if the fox ever got out of control. I believe it increased the strength of our souls as well. Naruto blinked in surprise at the theory. How long do you think it's going to last? He asked. I'm not sure, originally we'd have a few minutes, but if this serum has increased the strength of the souls, it's impossible to tell. Minato said. Kushina pulled Naruto into a hug. I really don't care, I'm just happy to have time with my son. We'll figure it out later, maybe this Mayuri can help us if he has had dealings with souls. Suddenly Naruto started to disappear. What's happening? It's okay, you're just waking up, Minato explained. How do I come back to see you? Naruto asked. Just concentrate on clearing your mind, remember we will always love you. Kushina said. July 13, 9:33 a.m., Wave Country, Mayuri's bunker. Naruto came back to consciousness, sat up on the table, looked to his right at Nemu waiting patiently. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? She asked. Yeah, I'm okay. Naruto replied as he got to his feet. That is good to hear. Nemu nodded with that tiny smile of hers. So how did it go, Nemu? Did the serum work? Naruto asked, putting his clothes back on. We are going to have to do a few tests, if you would wait, I will go get the equipment ready, Nemu said, walking over to some machines. As she did that, Naruto thought to himself. Was that all just a dream? It was no dream, Naruto-chan. Kushina's voice came out of nowhere. Jumping in surprise and quickly looking left and right, Naruto found no explanation for the sudden intrusion. Mom? What's going on? He asked, confused. It's okay, Naruto, your mother and I were able to tweak the seal, and now we can communicate with you. All you have to do is just think what you want to say. Minato's voice chimed in. Please tell me you can't look outside because if you can, this is going to be really embarrassing having my parents stuck inside my head. I'm never going to ever get away with anything. Naruto complained. Don't worry about that, Naruto, your mother was quite the hellraiser growing up, one of the monikers that she got was the Crimson Maelstrom, because if anyone ever made fun of her red hair, she usually caused collateral damage. Case in point, she once destroyed an entire dumpling restaurant when the owner said that she was eating like a pig and told her to get out. It took 2 full squads of Anbu Black Ops, our whole graduating class, and the promise of a month's supply of ramen to calm her down. Minato brought up with a chuckle. That's good to hear, remind me to tell you all the stuff I did. Naruto responded with a grin. There's no need for that, Naruto, we can just scan your memories, technically, we are inside your mind. Kushina said. Fine, just don't go snooping too much, there are still some things I don't want you to know. Naruto said. You mean like this crush you're starting to get on a girl named Hinata? Teased Kushina. Okay, I've definitely got to find a way to get you out of my head. Naruto said, cheeks pink. Suddenly, he heard his mother's laughter in his head. What's going on in there? She just found the memories concerning all your pranks, how could you paint the Hokage monument? Minato asked, waterfall tears on his face when he saw how his own face was vandalized. Actually, that was pretty easy, the security in the village really sucks. Okay, I'm going to cut the connection now, I got things I gotta do. I'll talk to the two of you later. Coming out of his concentration to see Nemu walking back over to him, carrying several instruments. How long was I asleep for, Nemu? He asked. You were unconscious for 1 hour. Nemu had said before she put the instruments down. This should not take very long. She assured him as she picked up the first instrument, beginning to wave it around his body. After the third pass, it lets out 3 beeps. Completing the process took another 30 minutes before she set everything down. You will be happy to know the process was a complete success, you should have no problems becoming a Soul Reaper. She announced. Thank you Nemu. Naruto said with a smile before he walked over to the central computer. Tell me something Mayuri, you said when I put the helmet on, you got all my memories downloaded, right? He hypothesized. That is correct, Naruto. Mayuri's face came on screen. So you are aware that I have a demon inside of me? I am indeed. Well, it turns out that it was my father that put it inside me, but when he was putting it in the seal, he put a fragment of his and my mom's souls inside of it to help me battle the fox, should it ever get out of control. Naruto explained. Mayuri gained an interested expression. And now I come to find out that when the serum that was put inside of me, it not only boosted my soul, but it also strengthened their souls as well, and now I have both my mother and my father's souls inside my head. That is quite interesting, indeed. Mayuri said with a nod and a hum. You wouldn't happen to know how to get the souls out, would you? Naruto asked. What do you take me for, a uncultured buffoon? Extracting the souls will be an easy process. I believe you are entirely underestimating my abilities. All you need to do is find 2 cylinders to put them in. Mayuri said after his mini tirade. Naruto chuckled slightly, though he was an echo in the computer, he was still Mayuri. Do they have to be a particular type? He asked. As long as it is not a living item, then no, I once saw someone put a mod soul in a stuffed animal. The results were odd, to say the least. Mayuri commented. That's good to hear, when will you be able to do it? Naruto asked. I should be able to get the machine working by tomorrow morning, as long as you can find 2 items to put the souls in. Mayuri reminded. Naruto nodded his head and looked at the clock on the wall, deciding that he would head back to the house so that he could be there when the Inuzuka came to pick up Nariko. He knew she'll be very nervous and would like him to be there to help her. I'm going to take the rest of the day off and let the serum work its way through my system. Nemu, you can take the rest of the day off to just relax. I'll be back in the morning to start my training. He said, reaching into his pocket take out a few bills. There's a village about a few miles to the west, why don't you go and have some fun? Naruto smiled as he handed her the money. Thank you very much, Naruto-kun. Nemu responded with that small smile of hers, taking the money. And Mayuri, I'll try and find 2 cylinders for the souls, but it's not a rush job. I don't think having my parents make a miraculous comeback to life is a good idea, it could cause a panic. Naruto said. Very well, I will put it on standby until you give me the orders. Mayuri said. 11:13 a.m., Tsunami's house. Naruto waved goodbye, making it back to the house in half the time it usually took to see Nariko playing in the front yard with at least a dozen children. Seeing Tsunami and Fuse sitting on the front porch watching the children playing, he spotted Inari running up to him. Hey Naruto. The moment the other kids hear this, they all made a beeline for Naruto and surrounded him. Hey Inari, I'm taking it these are your friends? Naruto asked, each had a big grin on their face. That's right. We were wondering if you could help us train, we want to be ninjas just like you. One of the kids said. Listen to Inari, I don't mind training you, but taking on all your friends is a little too much besides, I would need permission from their parents. Naruto said, before Tsunami caught his attention from the porch, waving a bunch of papers. All of their parents already sent a form saying that they can train with you. Tsunami said, having a great smile on her face. Please, 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 you're so cool. They all said. It would be so cool to be able to do ninja tricks. Would you teach me how to breathe fire like your teammate? Forget that I want to learn how to walk up trees, that was so cool. Naruto was a bit overwhelmed, being surrounded by children asking question after question. Okay, just calm down, give me a moment to get some supplies, and then I'll help you. He said, stepping inside for a second to bring out said supplies, seeing the kids jumping up and down in excitement. How hard can this be? I helped Konohamaru and his friends with their training sometimes. He said to himself, approaching the children. Okay kids, line up. We're going to start with physical fitness, I want 3 lines going here, here, and I want you all to do 25 push-ups. He demanded, all the kids going where they were told to go, while Naruto smiled to himself. See, this isn't so hard. Naruto's mindscape. Your child is a complete moron, he has no idea what he's getting himself into, but this should be quite hilarious to watch. QP said. All the mother and father could do was nod in agreement before Kushina looked at Minato. I still remember that day you came home from your first day of training your team. You swore you didn't want to go back because Obito was a loud-mouthed brat, Kakashi was a jerk, Rin was a fangirl for him, Obito hated Kakashi, and add to that fact you had to chain the three of them together to make them work together was pretty funny. She giggled. And this is coming from the woman that took her 3 students and got them drunk the first night, then the 4 of you went to the hot spring and tried to look into the men's side. Minato countered with a knowing grin. Kushina's face went bright red. I thought we agreed never to mention that again. You're just embarrassed because out of the 4 of you, it was you that got caught and your 3 students managed to run away, Minato said. Kushina turned away, her face bright red, while Minato laughed at her reaction. 1:16 p.m., Tazuna's backyard. After 2 hours of being a sensei, Naruto was ready to rip his hair out if the kids weren't asking for techniques, they were trying to slack off, and a few of the girls kept getting into trouble by flirting with a few of the boys instead of doing the exercises Naruto told them to do. Eventually, a shadow clone came back and cancelled itself out, giving Naruto the memories. Nodding to himself, he addressed the children. Alright, that's enough. He yelled, the kids stopping their jumping jacks. I want 3 lines again. I placed a flag half a mile down the path, I want you all run down this route, move around the tree, and back, if I find out you cheated, you won't get any more training from me, got it on your marks, get set, go. As one, all the kids instantly started running down the path. Once they were out of sight, Naruto walked up to the porch, took a glass of lemonade off the table, and sat down with the ladies. So Naruto, how do you think the kids are doing? Tsunami asked. Some of them are doing pretty well, if we keep this up, they should be good, and I'll be able to make a legitimate training program for them. Naruto praised, drinking his lemonade and waiting for the kids to come back. 1:35 p.m. He could see the kids in the distance running to him, so he stood up and walked back out to the yard. As the last kid crossed the finish line, Naruto could tell the kids were done for the day. Okay, that's enough for today, if you guys go up to the porch, you can have lemonade. I want you back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock sharp if you guys want to continue to train. He said, each kid smiled big, saying that they would be back before they all walked up the porch for drinks. Lost in thought, he wasn't paying attention to the 3 sources of noise barreling towards him, and thus paid for it when he was tackled by 3 large dogs, each one licking his face, as he valiantly attempted to pry the 3 of them off. He's over here. A familiar voice had come before 3 people laughed at Naruto alongside the children and Tsunami. Okay, Hana, call them off. Naruto begged. But Naruto, if you would just come by the compound more often to see them, they wouldn't be so hyper. Hana countered. Okay, I'm sorry guys. I promise I'll come by more often. Naruto promised, Hana whistled, her 3 companions backed up so that Naruto could stand up. Wiping his face to clean the saliva off, he pouted lightly. I don't see why they are so hyper, it hasn't been that long since I've seen them. He commented, the only answer he got was 3 barks which he sort of understood. Yes, I've missed you guys too. He reached out and scratched their heads before a white puppy jumped into his arms. How's it going, Akamaru? He scratched the puppy's head behind his ears as it let out a bark before he put him on the ground. So, do you guys want to talk now or do you want to meet her first? He asked the 3 in Yazuka. Let's talk first. Tsume said. Nodding, Naruto led them over to some trees and spent the next couple of minutes explaining everything he knew about Noriko, how he found her, what she and Tsunami told him, and his own observations of her ever since she woke up. After listening to everything, Tsume and Hana both trapped Naruto in a hug. Every time we think you're done surprising us, you do something like this, don't worry, she would be welcome to the main family. Tsume said, proud of him, after releasing the hug. Are you saying you're going to adopt her as your own? Naruto asked, surprised. That's right, we discussed it on the way here. I've always wanted another kid in the house. Tsume said with that trademark Inyazuka grin, not dissimilar to Naruto's own foxy grin. But I have always wanted a younger sibling too, not that you don't count, Naruto, you know that you're as much a part of this family as we are. Hana said with a kind smile, one of the more reserved and normal of the Inyazuka. I know, that's why I sent that letter to you directly, instead of sending it to the old man. So are you guys ready to meet her? Naruto asked, getting 3 affirmatives, before leading them back to the house and into the living room to see Fu, Inari, and Noriko playing cards, Tsunami sitting off to the side reading a book, the 3 kids looking up to see Naruto and 3 new people. I'd like to introduce you all to Tsume, the head of the Inyazuka clan, her daughter Hana, and her son Kiba. He said. Tsunami put down the book and stood up, falling into the gracious hostess role she seemed at home in. Welcome to my home, my name is Tsunami, and this is my son Inari. She greeted. The only teen girl of the bunch quickly jumped up and smiled. And I'm Fu. Nariko slowly walked up to Naruto and he put a hand on her shoulder. It's going to be okay. He said gently. Nariko looked at the three Inuyashukas, only saying one thing. Are you really my family? She asked timidly, almost scared. Tsume got down on her knees and put her hands on Nariko's shoulders. That's right, you're a member of this family, and nothing's is ever going to change that. If you want you can come live with the three of us, you will have a big sister and a big brother, and I will become your new mother. She explained. With tears in her eyes, Nariko lunged forward to hug Tsume. Yes please. Naruto let them stay like that for a few minutes before speaking up. Okay, why don't the four of you talk for a little bit and Nariko, just so you know, Hana came with her partners who are some of the biggest dogs you will ever meet. Nariko quickly looked at Hana and ran up to her, hands clasped together as she jumped in place, excited. Can I go meet them, please? I love dogs, especially big ones. Hana reached down to pick her up, sitting her on her shoulders. Of course you can. We'll make sure to say goodbye before we leave, Naruto, we'll see you in a little bit. She had said before they headed outside. Tsunami walked up to Naruto and gave him a hug. I've never been more proud of you before as I am right now, you gave that little girl a new family. She said, proud tears in her eyes. Just then, the four people left in the house heard a loud squeal from outside. Oh my god, they're so big. I told her they were big. Naruto chuckled as they ended the hug. So Tsunami, is Tazuna coming home tonight? He asked. They'll be home later tonight. Tsunami said, heading back to her chair and returning to her book. Quickly running up to his room, Naruto returned with his own book and sat at the table, beginning his next chapter. Noticing this, Tsunami looked up from her book, curious. What's that book you're writing about, anyway? You never did say. Smiling bashfully, Naruto put his pen down and scratched the back of his head. Well, I wanted to keep it a surprise, I've never told anybody what it's about, but seeing as I'm working on the last chapter, I guess I can tell you what it's about, but you gotta promise not to laugh. It's a love adventure story called Battles of the Heart. Love or honor. It's a story about a young man from a family of warriors who hates to fight and wants nothing more than peace and a noblewoman who falls in love with him. They wish to see the land return to a time of peace as it was in her grandfather's time, for her father is a cruel and evil man who thinks that his daughter is useless because she has a kind heart and could never bring herself to harm anybody. So he decided to throw a tournament and the winner will get his daughter's hand in marriage and the man who loves her will throw away all of his beliefs to fight in the tournament to receive her hand. After his synopsis, Naruto looked up to see both Tsunami and Fu with their hands over their hearts and a look of love in their eyes. Naruto, when you finish that book, I would like to read it, said Tsunami. Can I read it too? Asked Fu. The both of you are more than welcome to read it when it's finished. I'm actually considering seeing if I can get it published back in Konoha, a lot of the women I know have said they want to read it too. Naruto said. Well hopefully, you'll be able to finish it before you leave, Tsunami had said before she returned to her book and Fu went back to her cards. Before anybody knew it, it was time for dinner and knocking at the door getting their attention. I'll get that, it's probably them. Naruto said. And we'll start dinner. Tsunami said, heading into the kitchen with Fu. Fu looked at Tsunami and tilted her head. What are we going to cook for dinner today? How does homemade ramen sound? Tsunami asked with a smile. Sounds good. Fu said with a smile. Naruto opened the door to see Tsume and company. How'd it go? He asked, stepping outside with them. Well, she's definitely going to fit into the family. Just came to tell you we're going to head home. Tsume said as they headed out to the front lawn, Naruto spying Nariko on the back of one of Hana's partners, riding it like a horse. You having fun? Naruto asked with a knowing smile. Nariko turned to look at Naruto with a wide grin. This has been one of the best days that I can ever remember. Mom said that she would help me with my training, I even get my own partner. She exclaimed. When we get home, what about the dogs that are here? Naruto asked, remembering her friends. We went to talk to them, but they want to stay here, they said that this is their home. Are you going to come with us? Nariko asked with a cute tilt of the head. I'm sorry Nariko, but I'll be staying here until the end of the month. I've got a lot of training and need to get it done, but if you behave, I'm sure your mom will take you to the fight at the end of the month. Naruto said, before turning to face Tsume. I'll make sure to check in with you a couple days before the fight. Tsume said, pulling the blonde into a hug. I'm supposed to pass on a message for you, the Hokage told me to tell you how proud he is of you, and just so you know, I put a reward into your bank account. I'm not going to hear you say no, you deserve this. She said, releasing her hug. Before he could say anything, he was instantly pulled into another hug by Hana. Thank you, little bro, we're all going to be in the stands rooting for you. she said, giving him a kiss on the cheek, the blonde trying to pull himself out of the hug to wipe off his cheek like a fussy toddler, Tsunami, Inari, and Fu having come out to wave goodbye. Naruto quickly bumped fists with Kiba who said, "I'll see you later, loser." He grinned, made his way over to Nariko and whispered in her ear. When he finished he saw Tsume and remembered something, then went over to her. "Before you go I wanted to ask you a couple things." Tsume nodded. "I know you noticed too, that her eyes have a yellow tint to them, is that normal?" Tsume thought a moment. "I did notice and no, it's not usually. The only cases I've heard of something like this happening is when one of the parents isn't an Inyazuka, but we rarely marry or have kids outside the clan, but we're large enough to maintain genetic diversity." Naruto nodded. "My other question I don't think I mentioned in the letter. I told you her mom was one of Gato's playthings, and when we killed him she ran away and left Nariko, but how could a Inyazuka do that? Have any Inyazuka women ever been lost on a mission?" Tsume looked down at Naruto, almost glaring. "It's unlikely, even if the father was an enemy that beat and raped her, no Inyazuka woman would abandon her child, our maternal instincts are far too strong, we'd rather die, and no Inyazuka females have been lost in my lifetime, a few have been killed though, which is why I don't think her mother was an Inyazuka." Tsume glanced at Kiba. "While not impossible as even the strongest will can be broken eventually, based on what I've seen and you told me, what probably happened at an Inyazuka male impregnated a civilian during a mission, you know how we are, especially the men," Tsume said, and gestured at her son. "Beyond that I don't know, but I was going to get a genetic test done anyway to see if she has any close, living relatives." Naruto smiled. "Which is why you keep a tight leash on him, so to speak." "Thanks, and would you let me know what you find?" Naruto said and chuckled. "Sure, since you brought her to us," Tsume said, then faced her group. "Alright pups, let's head out." Tsume exclaimed. Nodding at the signal to go, Nariko looked at Kiba with a grin. "Come on, let's race home big brother Kibble," she said innocently. Tsume and Hana burst out laughing, along with all their dogs and the trio on the porch. Kiba shot Naruto the dirtiest look he could muster. "I'll get you back for that," he promised. "Whatever you say, Kibble," Naruto countered, still with that playful smirk Kiba was beginning to hate. As the new family headed out with big smiles on their faces, Naruto headed back inside once they were out of sight, smiling when he heard they were having ramen. Later that night, as he laid in bed, the only thing he could think about was what type of cylinder he was going to put his parents in. It would have to be inconspicuous, can't raise suspicion. He told himself before eventually falling asleep. July 14, 7:40 a.m., Tsunami's house. Both Tazuna and Tsunami were suddenly awoken by a loud scream coming from Inari's bedroom. Rushing out of their rooms, they saw Naruto walking out of Inari's room with an empty bucket and a grin. "You have 20 minutes to be outside, or I'm tossing you into the ocean," he called back before seeing the looks on their faces. He wants to be a ninja. "Well, we're up at the crack of dawn for our training. I've already started on a pot of coffee for you both," he said, heading downstairs with Tazuna and Tsunami in tow. Checking into Fu's room, Tsunami shook her head. "That girl can sleep through anything." Exactly 5 seconds short of his promised threat, Naruto was out on the front lawn, looking at a watch he brought with him, looking up to see Inari running to stand in front of him, the other children joining them just short of Hurricane Naruto's descent, saving their young innocent lives. "You know the drill, line up. Today, we'll be focusing on a technique referred to as the leaf exercise. It's one of the most basic chakra techniques taught in the academy and it'll help you unlock your chakra. I want each of you to go get a leaf from the trees, come back, and sit down," he demanded, the lot of them making for the trees to do just that, Naruto falling into his explanation of the exercise. Unknown to anyone, the Naruto before them was in fact a shadow clone. Aries bunker, lab. Naruto walked in to see Nemu sweeping the floor, the lieutenant turning to greet him when she heard the door open. "How was your night, Nemu?" he asked. "It was very nice, I was able to pick up a few books from the village and a few other supplies," Nemu said. "That's good to hear," Naruto said, glad she was taking to acting on her own instead of only acting on orders before he made his way over to the central computer to type in a series of keys. The machine in the middle of the room came to life, rumbling with its many functions going to work before the door opened, revealing none other than Yuruchi standing there in the smoke. She stepped out and smirked. "I take it you're the new boss?" she asked, yellow eyes alight with a playful mischief. "That's correct, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, but you can just call me Naruto. I hear you're the person to talk to about hand-to-hand combat," he said as he gave her a quick once-over. Her picture didn't do her justice. At 5'1" she was only a few inches taller than him, but beautiful, purple hair and a high ponytail to her waist. Like a mix of Ino and Anko, that almost made him shudder. She had light brown skin, yellow eyes, black kunoichi sandals, black stretch pants with a beige sash belt, a black undershirt that's probably sleeveless, and a short-sleeved, orange overshirt with 2 white stripes at the shoulders. He really liked her taste as clothes. Her most prominent feature, literally, was a firm, very ample chest that rivaled any woman in Konoha. He wasn't surprised she wasn't carrying a sword, but she could get one easily. Iruchi's smirk got a little bigger. She's seen him give her a once-over, and that he lingered briefly on her chest. She'd bring that up later to tease him, as he seemed to be the fun type who'd let her be herself, even though she knew she had to obey any order he gave her. But now wasn't the time for that. She was obviously here for a job. That's right, but you should know I only train people who have the determination to stick through it. Then I'm the best you will ever get. I never back down from a challenge. Naruto proclaimed. Then let's find a training room and get started. Uruchi said. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.